Peace and power. I am Jamal Robinson, and we're back again for another installment of Higher Enlightenment. Make sure you get over to mastersofthecosmos.com, where this lecture, full lecture, will be available in either DVD format or digital format when you become a member of the Adepts. All right? So, without further ado, first and foremost, we need to thank Miss Moody, who is hosting us today here in the area that I like to call Shambhala or Shangri-La. A little bit of heaven on earth. We're out here in nature, all types of vegetation and greenery all around us. So the energy is high today. I'm excited for this opportunity. We've just come off of the summer solstice and we are ready to move. For those of you all who understand about the power of the summer solstice, you know this is a high time of the year. Sirius is rising. We're going into the dog days of summer. So thought it was a great time to kick this off as we move into this period of the year with a high-powered lecture with some high-powered information. Also, thank you to the videographer, Mr. Doug Ross, who's taking his time to come out and capture this moment in history and make this thing happen. Thank you for taking the time to listen and watch this presentation. Your energy is very important. We're in a period in the human history, human collective, where the secrets are being revealed. And it's a beautiful time to be living, because if you want to know, you can and you will know. And that's where I want to start before I get into our actual topic. I want to look at the word familiarity. Familiarity, if we want to use this term devil loosely, familiarity is the devil. And when I say devil, I'm speaking in a connotative sense. Because those of us who study, we don't subscribe to this concept of there's a dedicated boogeyman somewhere sitting under the ground just waiting to get you. But connotatively, we're saying that familiarity is the devil because we're speaking of it in terms of hindrance. Our propensity to go towards what's familiar is what hinders us. If it's something that I'm accustomed to, if it's something that I'm comfortable with, something that I can easily identify with, it's familiar. And therefore it's not scary. Well, familiarity breeds stagnation. And whenever water, just using water as an example, whenever water is stagnant, water dies. Do you know that water can purify itself? Even with all of the pollutants that man dumps into water, water is very powerful because it accepts and it can cleanse itself by just moving. But when you take water and you make it sit and it can't move, it can't vibrate, it can't have waves, natural flow of waves go through it, it becomes stagnant and then it dies. Familiarity breeds stagnation. So a lot of times we don't want to entertain new things because we think, well, mama didn't do that, daddy didn't do that, and we got to get back to the old way. My grandmama didn't do that. One thing we got to understand about the human collective is that from the moment that creation occurred, we've been doing this. That's called devolution. Devolution. So sometimes the concept of familiarity, we're always trying to find somewhere on the arc where we can go back to, because we don't understand, though, that we've always been falling. What we have to do in order to get back on the upside, which is what is called evolution, this is devolution, down, evolution, up, is you have to go beyond what you think you know. You got to go beyond what you believe. You got to go beyond what you've been taught. Because what you have been taught really amounts to indoctrination. So, what we want to do today is go into the realm of the unfamiliar, the realm of the hidden. Our parents, our forefathers and mothers, worked with what they had available to them at the particular time that they existed in the human time continuum. So, if all we have to do as fully functional adults is just go back and replay whatever they've done, then what's the point of adulthood? Adulthood, one of the key terms in adulthood is this: discernment. What do you need discernment for if all you're going to do is just replay a script over and over? Discernment is where in the Bible it says, separate the wheat from the tare. That means the whole concept of judging. To judge something, that means you got to be aware of both sides. That's why in law you have the scales of justice, because you're weighing out both sides. That's called discernment. That's called judgment. The ability to weigh. So if all you got to do is just follow some script that's been laid out for you, then you are a perpetual child. True adulthood is when you develop the ability to weigh out things and make your own decision. So yes, there are great things that our parents and our forebears taught us, and we should lean on those as a foundation. But they were only intrinsically serving as steps for us to build on top of. How can you build something on top of something when all you're trying to do is duplicate what's already there? You must go out of the familiar into the unfamiliar to pioneer and build new territory. And that's what we're going to do today. Our topic is, hold up, wait for it, sex, shit, and the stomach. Let me say this. When I first came into higher consciousness, I wanted nothing to do with the Bible. Nothing. Because I was reading the Afrocentric books, and I was reading about how the Bible had been used to enslave black folk, and Christianity was used as a tool of conquest and colonization, which is true. But what we have to realize is that there are steps. Life is, if you allow yourself, you're constantly going up new steps, new levels. Now, a lot of people get stuck at that step. Oh, that Bible ain't nothing. It's white man's book and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And they get stuck. And they spend the rest of their days talking about these black folk going up in that church and them Christians and this and that. You giving all you praying to white Jesus and all this. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice that you've gotten to that point. But you ain't even cracked the surface yet. Because when you study, when we shut our mouths and study, and come back to the Bible, study to show thyself approved. Peace ye be still. That means shut up. Stop talking so much and trying to let your ego tell people who are still in church that you ain't shit in this. Shut the fuck up. And you work on yourself. Because the book, everything, I don't care what book you get, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, the Quran, the Torah, whatever so-called holy book you want to get, they're all talking about one damn thing. You going through transformation. So if you're sitting around all the time beating up this person, that, because you think they ain't on your level, you ain't doing shit. Because you're not taking the time to do your work. So when you do your work and you start studying other texts and you start seeing them as a pieces of one puzzle, then your eyes open and then you regain a respect for this book. This is miraculous that I can go into this book and can explain things, because I never read shit when I went to church. Never. Preacher get up, start preaching. We're going to turn to John. I have to go to the little table of contents and find where's John at. People be looking out at you. He don't study the Bible. And you feel all embarrassed. Well, guess what? They don't either, because they don't know what the hell none of the shit in the book means. They just memorize scriptures. That's called rote learning. That ain't learning. That's memorization. It was not until I stopped doing the rituals of Christianity and I started studying other things that I actually gained respect for this. Because he who knows one book knows none. It's not until you go outside this book and study the companion text that you can even have any knowledge of this book. You ain't doing nothing but repeating fairy tale stories. So, when I branched out, I started developing a respect and an appreciation. And I realized this is a book of magic. Oh, this is a powerful, powerful book. It can give you a story that can span billions of years. It can look into the future. It has magical incantations. It helps you reveal who you are, your place in the whole collective, where we are in the time collective or the spectrum of time, all in this little book. So when I come and tell you, you are God having a human experience, like, you're going to get on up out of here with all that old devil mess. You're going to get us struck with lightning. You can't be questioning God. Well, another man told you that. Did God literally come down to you? You know how I really knew I was always messed up in the head? I'd be at church as a little boy, and them preachers get up there talking about, and the Lord came to me last night, and he said, David, you need, and I used to sit there and wonder, why the fuck did I never get this shit come to me like this? Why don't nobody ever come talk to me like, what he got that he hears these voices that I don't hear?
You don't have a relationship with God.
Exactly. One preacher used to say, I have my ear to the head of God's chest. I said, God damn, that is good. And when you say you got your head to the chest and your ear on God's bosom, who can argue with that? It's called game. You know how a pimp gets a girl to get out there? Girl, your dad ain't never loved you, but I love you. I'm going to take care of you. Come on, I'm going to show you the world. We're going to travel. We're going to stay in the finest hotels. All you got to do is stay down with daddy. And she ain't never known shit else. And she looking at him. He pulled up on her. He was in a Jaguar. And he knows she come out the damn projects and she ain't never seen shit. So he mac on her. Same thing happens with every other walk of life. We get macked on. Somebody sees our lack of knowledge of who the hell we really are, and they come and tell you who you are. And then all I got to do is say, God said it. Because I first have to accept that you are above me for you to tell me that God talks to you, for you to come tell me. Well, how about I cut out the fucking middleman?
So you don't believe God speaks to people?
Not in the manner that they say. I believe God speaks to everyone because God is them. So here's the key. If God is in you, I don't need nobody to convey a message to me for God, because I am God. So if I want to talk to God, I'm going to walk my black ass in there and shut up and be quiet, and I'll let God talk to me. So, but listen to how this thing contradicts itself. You move on to chapter 4. God has kind of gotten over his anger, and it says, now the man had relations with his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to man. Now, this is how they play games. They take this one, and I don't want to tell you the word. That's why you got to get you other translations. This is a good one. Young's literal translation. You don't ever want to just have one Bible, because they go in and change the words so to obscure what conversations like this where you can figure out, wait a minute. So let's go and look at how they word Genesis in here. Genesis. And the man knew Eve, and she conceiveth and beareth Cain, and saith, I have gotten a man by Jehovah. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. What started all this fall of man is because they ate from an apple and they knew. But everything was taboo. But it was okay when we get to chapter 4 for him to know her. Okay, let me break down what I'm saying. This is where the sex comes in. Sex is okay as long as you just do it as an animal and it's just a means of procreation. But when you have knowledge of what are the actual components involved, sex is just not relations between a man and a woman physically. Sex goes on in your mind when you can be aware that you have two sides. Remember we talked about what genius is? You have left brain and right. When those two can come together and merge and cross and work together, you're having mental sex. That is what was the problem in the book. It's okay to have the physical lower nature aspect, but it is not okay to have mental knowing. Now, it was related to them eating from the apple. Okay? Now look how this ties into sex. In this model, this man eating, his mouth is the feminine aspect because the mouth receives. The actual food is what is input. This is the masculine. In all convergence of energy, the masculine has to be destroyed. When you eat something, you destroy it. The only way to get the essence out of this apple is to eat it. I can have all types of little fruits. All the vegetables and the fruits you got out there, they all look gorgeous, but they ain't shit until I eat them. It's just something to look at. I don't get the nutrients from them until I actually destroy them. That's what eating is. Eating is murder. You're murdering the food. But when I do that, through the feminine aspect of inserting the male into the feminine, it destroys it so that I can start to digest it. And when I digest it, I start getting the essence out of the doggone fruit. Only until it gets destroyed can I get the essence. Which leads us to the stomach. But first, do you see the correlation between the two? Okay. The stomach here, this is why you got to study words and what they mean. Let me get this on camera. Because this is one of the most valuable books you can have in your collection. It's the Strong's Concordance. A must have. Because every word that appears in the Bible, you can look it up in this book. And you can get, if it's coming out the Old Testament, you can get Hebrew. In some cases, you might find Aramaic transliteration. And if it's in the New Testament, you can find the Greek. And you can get to a deeper essence of what is being conveyed in this book, and in the Bible. And let me tell you what I found.
That's like a dictionary for the Bible.
Yeah, and so to speak, and you know, almost like it's almost like an etymological resource, kind of dictionary / etymology, because it's transliterating what these words are. Okay. When I looked up the word God, and this is for my members on the website, this is why I kept saying this document I created. This document I created called the 72 Wise Words, a Guide to Decoding Biblical Scripture. Remember I told you about this, Ellen?
Uh-huh.
This is why this is so valuable. Let me show you one of the entries I got. Basically, I went through the Strong's Concordance and I put 72 words. I broke them down using the Strong's Concordance. When we look at God, one of the renderings of the word God in Greek is stomachos.
Stomachos. Okay.
Now just use your imagination for a second. What does that sound like? Stomachos.
Stomachos. Sound like a disease.
Stomachos.
I got you, stomachos. A deadly disease.
Let's just look at it. Let's look at it spelled out. Stoma. Let's just do this. What I got? Stomach.
Okay.
This is another one transliteration of the word God. Stomachos. Okay? Another one is stoma. Stoma means mouth. God is actually feminine because we are connected that the mouth is a feminine receptive tool. It takes in and it starts the process of digestion.
It's probably the fact that he never knew his dad that made this young man grow up so mad with clouded eyes instead at the hand he was dealt. Pep taught him he couldn't depend on nobody but himself. And with that mindset, he laced his Converse and hit the hard top hustle until his feet hurt. Nickel sacks and paper bags with wine bottles burst.